Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, I hope you guys had a great Labor Day weekend. I know I did. It was great. For those of you who are just tuning in, my channel is all about improving yourself, being a better man every single day, and really applying the things that I've learned over the years to different aspects of my life, right? Whether it be dating. I mostly talk about dating, but every once in a while I'll talk about relationships with, family, friends, um, working, your career, schooling, that sort of thing. Because, I was a professor also for about 10 years. So, I talk about those things because I struggled through the majority of my life. As you guys know, may or may not know, I didn't have a real strong father figure in my life, right? I had a dad, and I had people that came into my life, in and out of my life, like my uncle and women that I dated over the years, their dads and that sort of thing that kind of taught me stuff. But I never really had that good foundation, and that's why I'm here. About a year ago, I made a conscious decision to have a vasectomy. And I was like, where am I going to pass this knowledge on to? Right. So you guys are the lucky ones. Hopefully you guys appreciate this and get a lot of value out of my videos. So here it goes. This week, I want to talk a little bit about anxiety. Anxiety is something that I've always kind of dealt with. I've just always had it. It was just part of my life. I never even knew I really had anxiety because it was so normal to me, right? But what I realized, and after about 10 years of therapy, is that I did have anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety, and it stemmed from my parents, right? The way I was brought up. A big part of my life was perfection. You know what I mean? My parents really, it was mostly my dad. My mom on the side, she would always kind of tell me, do what you can, do the best that you can. I believe in you. I love you, that sort of thing. My dad was the one that was always kind of banging on me to do better. Nothing's ever good enough. You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. And that sort of thing. So that's really where it came from. And then my dad was putting a lot of pressure on my mom, which put a lot of pressure on me. So, the house had to be kept up, be a certain way. I had to have a certain haircut. I could only do certain things. I had to go to school, So they, in summary, they controlled a lot of, pretty much all of my life. I mean, they would call probably my parents nowadays helicopter parents, you know what I mean? Because they were just always just in my grill about shit, you know what I mean? Like it was awful, And my mom's intent was always really good. Like I think she had a lot of pressure from my dad. You know what I mean? And she wasn't completely 100% happy. So that she put that on our relationship, which strained hers and my relationship. We had a good relationship. We still have a great relationship to this day. But my mom lets me be who I am, right? Where back then she didn't, and my dad didn't either. They controlled every single part of me, right? And they wanted me to be perfection. They wanted me to do, to get good grades, to play good baseball, to, play good golf, whatever the case may be. It had to be perfect. Then my mom was always cleaning the house. The house was so clean, man, you could eat off the fucking floors, right? And I mean, she was still cleaning on top of cleaning. I mean, she had a real problem, even Oprah told her she had a problem, you know what I mean? Because she was always cleaning. My mom had no life. She was either ironing or cleaning the house. That was it. She didn't have any friends, nothing. She took care of me. I was the center of her life. That sort of thing. So, that put a lot of pressure on me because every time I got a report card, I had to have really good grades. Every time I played baseball, I had to go, 4 for 4, and I had to make every play in the field. Every time I played football, I had to get, sacks or, run the football. All of this stuff. My dad, nothing was ever good enough for my dad. And that was just kind of the level of pressure that I put on myself, right? Because he put it on me for so many years, and that just translated to me putting it on myself. So for years, I always felt pressure. I always felt weird about the house being dirty, all that sort of thing. It didn't do well for me. So when I was out with my friends, I was always feeling, and then I had a curfew. I had a curfew all the way up until I was, I don't know, I was like 18, 19-year-old. You know what I mean? I had to be home at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And, stuff like that. It's just, I read a book a long time ago. It's by Earl Woods. And he said he never pressured Tiger. He would just basically take him with him to the golf course or take him to watch him hit balls in his garage, right? Because he had a net and everything. And Tiger just was interested by it, and next thing you know, he's got a club in his hand. He's over there hitting balls. When he was a kid, he was a fucking natural, you know what I mean? And he just loved the game, and it was because of his dad. But he said his dad, or Earl said that he never forced Tiger into golf. He just wanted Tiger to enjoy it, have fun. He would always take Tiger out there and play games with them. They would compete with each other, and they would have fun with one another. And Tiger just took it a whole lot further, where my dad, him and I love baseball. My dad would take me out to the baseball field and we'd practice. But man, it was like, have you ever seen that movie, He Got Game, with Denzel Washington? That's exactly the way my dad and my relationship was. There was always a fight afterwards. We'd go out and play baseball. There was always a fight. It was not fun. It was not enjoyable. I hated it. Going to work with my dad, going to, because he owned property, right? And sometimes he had to go work on the property. So I would go with them. And, oh God, trying to work with him, I would start doing whatever he asked me to do. He'd be like, no, you're not doing it right. And not even nice. He'd just yell at me about it. And that gave me a lot of anxiety. Then when I got home, my mom had just cleaned the house. And she's like, don't dirty anything. I'm like, what the fuck? I just walked in. You know what I mean? Here goes Einstein. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then my mom would, I don't know, she'd clean, clean my room, do some shit in my room, which I didn't want anybody going in my room, but she'd do it anyway. And then she cleaned the bathroom. And she's like, you know what? Don't go in the bathroom. It's clean. The fuck do you mean don't go in the bathroom? I need to go to the restroom. You know what I mean? It was stuff like that. Stuff like that made me anxious all the fucking time. If I didn't do my chores, I'd get in trouble, made me anxious. Didn't take out the garbage, didn't, cut the lawn. I was in trouble, made me anxious. All that sort of thing, right? So that's the environment that I grew up in. It was a really tough environment, right? And that kind of morphed into my adult years, right? I remember the first time that I ever got a house. I don't know if I was renting or I bought a house or whatever. I spilled some water on the floor, and I was like, "Oh shit! Oh my god, I gotta clean it up," And I thought to myself, I'm like, "What am I doing? I live by myself. If I wanted to leave that fucking water there, I can. You know what I mean?" But it didn't register with me because that was part of my life. And what I started realizing at that point is that this is my life. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And then the other big milestone in my life was when I broke up with the woman at 40 years old, right? We went our separate ways and this and that, but I started really diving into what's called the red pill. And I was dabbling in the red pill at that particular time, but I really dove into a lot of Corey Wayne's work. Well, Corey Wayne showed me, he put a lot of things in context for me. It wasn't just, the book that he wrote, 3% Man, was about dating. I mean, the majority of it was about dating and finding the right person, finding your mate, right? But then the thing is that if you put it in context, you start learning things about yourself. And I had these really high expectations of other people as well. And you know what? Everybody's different. Not everybody's like me. Not everybody has the same morals or the same philosophies that I do. And it took me years to really realize that. I was always expecting people to be the way I grew up, and not everybody's like that. Everybody's extremely different, So the more I dove into Corey Wayne stuff, the more I drove into the red pill, I started realizing that I'm the CEO of my life, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. If I wanted to call in to work today and take PTO, I can do that. If I wanted to, if I didn't want to go to the movies with someone, they wanted me to go see a chick flick or whatever, I can say fucking no. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, I can do whatever I want to do. And now what I've realized is that I'm not going to do it unless it's compelling. Unless it's something that I really, really want to do. Because now at my age, at 50, right, I don't have that much time. So I'm not going to waste time doing shit that I don't want to do, right? So being in that state of mind, right? And the other thing too is hanging around people that I don't want to hang around with, right? There used to be a lot of people. I used to hang around with people because I thought that's what you needed to do. But now I realized that you don't need to do that. So I get the fuck out of there. The only thing that I got to do that I worry about is being rude about it. You know what I mean? Because now I can just turn off like that and just fucking leave. And I could probably leave somebody talking to themselves just because I'm fucking bored or I don't want to be there. You know what I mean? I've done that. I've done that. And, that's not, I got to learn how to play nice in the sandbox, right? I got to learn how to function in this world. And a lot of my problem when I was learning this stuff and realizing that I can do whatever the fuck I want to do, I would just turn it off like that. And I'll give you an example. Like when I'm feeling boxed in or I'm feeling anxious about something, right? Or I'm being asked a question or whatever, you know what I mean? And I'm being pressured. I go 0 to 100 real fast, like Drake. I mean, 100%, right? So I can easily get pissed off or, get upset or whatever the case may be. I'll give you an example. So I'm dating this woman. She's great. I enjoy hanging out with her and stuff. And her dad actually introduced us, right? And I told her dad, I said, look, just be aware, I don't want anything. I don't want any type of relationship, nothing. I made that 100% clear. Well, unfortunately, he didn't tell her that, right? And that's kind of a big thing. You know what I'm saying? Because it manages expectations. Well, now I got to have the talk. So she text messages me yesterday and asked me that question. You know what I mean? Do you see this going anywhere? Do you see it? I see us going somewhere. Do you not see that? Blah, 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 right? So yesterday I got anxious about it. I was pissed off. I was like, oh, fuck, man. I don't want to have these conversations. And what I wanted to answer is, fuck no, I'm done. I'm out later. You go your way, I'll go mine. But what I had to do was say, okay, why am I anxious? Is there really a reason to be anxious? And answer those questions, right? So there wasn't a reason to be anxious. I was anxious because she's asking me questions that I don't really want to be asked, that I thought I covered initially. So that irritated me. But now I got to have the talk. Well, okay, it's not worth the anxiety. I just have to talk to her about it. I just have to let her know. So if I had said it yesterday, I would have been like, fuck it. I'm done. Whatever. I'm out. Today, I'm more rational about it. I can actually sit down and say, you know what? I'm just not in that place right now. And be nice about it. So that's the kind of thing that I have to do. That's my process. I have to go through the process of where I say, okay, is it really, why am I anxious? Do I really need to be anxious? Is it a situation for me to be anxious about? And then I deal with it rationally instead of getting mad or getting upset or getting frustrated or whatever the case may be. That's my process. And what you guys have to do, and what I hope you get out of this, right, is I hope you understand that you have to understand where the anxiety is coming from. I went through 10 years of therapy, and I understand where it originates from, right? It originates from my parents and the way I grew up. And then my counselor taught me how to deal with it. Okay, why am I anxious? Is there a reason to be anxious? And then deal with it. Try to find a rational way of, a rational corrective action. Let's put it that way. So there's a RCCA, what I consider RCCA, root cause corrective action, right? Root cause is, why do I feel anxious? Do I have to be anxious? Corrective action is, okay, deal with it. Find a rational way to deal with it and move forward. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to be honest with her. I'm going to tell her, and whatever she decides is what she decides. But I have to be okay with that. You know what I mean? Because that's something that I signed up for. That's what I wanted. I didn't want anything. I don't want any kind of relationship. I've told you guys on, some of my other videos, I just don't think it's worth it. I have a great life. I get to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I like that. I like being able to do that. Women can come into my life. We can have a good time, have fun, hang out, hook up, and go our separate ways, man. I don't need to be hanging over someone. I don't want them hanging over me. I don't want to be tied to a text message. I don't want to be tied to, oh, is she cheating on me? Is, worried about that stuff. Because I've always been worried about hypergamy, right? I've always been worried about that. I don't have a lot of trust for women. because of the experiences that I've been through. And you guys can go through my videos and understand what that's all about. You know, so I just don't feel that it's worth my effort. I like my life too much the way it is. It's simple, it's fairways and greens, and that's the way I like it. And I don't like being told what to do. I don't like having chains, on me. I don't want any of that shit, right? Because that makes me feel anxious, and I do not want to feel anxious. Right? The other thing that makes me feel anxious is sometimes work, right? If I have something to turn in, like the other day I was feeling anxious about something that I had to get done. I stepped back and I said, okay, why am I anxious? Well, because I didn't get this done. Do I have the right to be anxious? No, not really, because I can get it done right now. Boom, done. Corrective action. I analyzed it, got it done. No anxiety, So, the other thing too, on Friday, I had to come home. I went to go visit my mom because I usually take care of her, spend time with her. And I had to get home for a meeting with my boss's boss, right? I mean, he was way up there, but, you know, I was a little anxious about that. But on the way home, I analyzed it. I said, is there any reason to be anxious? No. Do I have a right to be anxious? Not really. It's not really that big of a deal. I just wanted to be in my environment here at my desk, talking to them. You know what I mean? And be able to access any answers that I needed to on the computer. You know what I mean? That was the source of my anxiety. And as soon as I got off that call, I was done. It was good. So those are my processes. And as soon as I feel anxious about anything like friendships or relationships or anything like that, I step back, I analyze the situation, and then I come up with a rational way to handle it. And that's always helped me. That helps me a lot. But, it took 10 years of therapy for me to get there, So that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys today about, right? Is if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling uneasy about things, about your life, I also choose to keep my life really simple. I don't, my life is simple. I have a job that I really enjoy. I used to be in leadership. I'm still in leadership, but I used to be higher up. I was going for that VP position and all that shit. And, at those levels, man, you get a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of anxiety in those areas. So I stepped back. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that for a while. If I ever decide to go back, then I'll go back, and I'm slowly making my way back. But, that's just something that I just don't want to deal with. And, so you need to make those decisions. You just remember, guys, your health is the most important thing. Anxiety is part of your health, because with anxiety comes a lot of defects. You know what I mean? You're going to get gray hair. You're going to have all kinds of issues. You're going to be overweight. You could have any type of ailment because of stress and anxiety. So it's just not worth it. I'd rather go work out, come to my job, enjoy the shit out of my job, get the most out of my job, and go and do things that I love to do. My dad passed away in 2019. And up until the day he died, man, he was the source of my anxiety in a lot of ways. And I hate to say this, but when he passed away, my anxiety kind of passed with him. Because every time I talked to him, he would always make me tense up, because he'd always say something, or, it was just residual, I loved him, but I didn't know how to deal with that with him. Unfortunately, when he passed, that's when it went away. I hate that. I hate that that happened, but it is what it is, you know? So I don't want you guys to feel that way. I don't want you guys to go through what I did. You know, your father and your mother, they are who they are. But just appreciate them for who they are. Because I did get a lot of great things out of both of them. And I got my work ethic from my dad and, you know, the love for sports from my dad. And I got everything else from my mom, you know, being a good person, being, you know, being who I am in life, being strong, you know, being thick-skinned, you know, all that sort of thing. Those came from my parents. And I'm very thankful for that now. I look back on it and I'm extremely thankful for the way I was brought up. I don't regret a minute of it. There's some things that I wish had been handled differently. But, you know, it's all contributing pieces to who you are now. But the only thing now is that when you get into your adult years, you kind of have to figure that out for yourself. That's why I always tell you in all my other videos, in your 20s, you should be figuring that shit out. You know, I have a cousin who's 20, exactly, right? And he's still trying to figure it out. You know, figure it out. Enjoy your life. In your 20s, you got room to fuck up. Even if you make a bad decision, you got time to course correct and figure out that decision, right? So don't let anything get you down, guys. You know, my cousin's all stressed out about, well, you know, I don't feel like I'm doing anything because I'm not going back to school. You know, he wants to go to a trade school. And I'm 100% on board with that. You know, college isn't for everybody. I hate to say it, you know what I mean? Because college did a lot for me, but it wasn't in his heart. You know, it wasn't part of his makeup at this time. You know, who knows? 5 years from now, it may be different. He may want to go back to school. You know, but I told him, I said, do what's in your heart. Do what you feel inside here and do what your intuition's telling you. If your intuition is saying, you know, I don't want to go to school, it's not the right thing for me, then don't do it. You know, go do something else. So if there's anything that you can get from this, you know, I realized when I started really following my intuition and really believing in that inner voice, that's when all my anxiety just kind of dissipated. And now, you know, for the most part, I would say 90% of my life, I'm very relaxed. There's still anxiety that kind of pops up in here and there, you know, and I'm learning how to deal with it, you know. But I'm very relaxed because I listen to my intuition. I listen to that inner voice, and I know it's the right thing to do. You know, I have confidence in that intuition and my inner voice and what it's telling me. So believe in it, follow it, and I guarantee you, your anxiety is gonna subside. Maybe it won't go away all the way, but go to counseling, get some counseling, figure out where it's deriving from, and figure out ways to cope with it and deal with it and try to get over it. You know, because anxiety in the long run, it's going to kill you. It was killing me, and I don't want that to happen to you guys. All right, so, you know, guys, life is good, man. Life is good. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy life. Get the most out of life. And try to take care of your anxiety. Try to take care of yourself. You know, if you need to, like I work out all the time. And, you know, when I do feel anxious, I go work out. The anxiety goes away. So I have coping mechanisms to be able to deal with my anxiety so it doesn't really overwhelm me to the point where I have to take medication. I just deal with every little bit and piece that I can. And over the years, it kind of takes care of itself, because I don't have to work as hard anymore. I know how to manage it. I know how to deal with it. So I want you guys to get to that point. If you're feeling really anxious to the point where, you feel it rising above your headline, that's not good, guys. Figure out a way to deal with it. Go to counseling, get some help, understand it, and just deal with it. Corrective action. That's the biggest thing that you can do. But deal with it as soon as you can, because you don't want to live the rest of your life like that. It's not normal. You shouldn't have to be anxious. And take it from me, because I was Mr. Ball of Nerves, and now I'm not. So, guys, I really care, man. I really care. I want you guys to feel the way I feel right now. So please take all the negative aspects out of your life. Become who you want to be. Become a better person every single day. If you're short and fat, get in the gym. You can't do anything about your weight, but own it. If you're bald, if you're balding, shave it off. Become Jason Statham. Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Own it. Own who you are, become who you want to be, and don't let anything bother you, man. Life is too short. Don't worry about shit. Build your life simple, right? To be as simple as possible. My life is simple. I get up, I go to work, I come hang out with my dog, I clean my house, I go play golf, I go hang with my buddies. That's my life. Right? I'll go swimming because I have a swimming pool. Life is easy, right? But that's by design, guys. And I wanted to keep my life simple. Life is hard as it is. Why make it harder? Try to make it easy. Fairways and greens. Okay? I hope you got something good out of this video. I really care, guys. If you need any help, let me know. My contact information is below, and I'd really love to help, man. I hope you're not going through what I went through, because it's hell. It really is. Okay, love you guys. Talk to you on the next video. Peace out.